I know in the modern NFL, with the increased emphasis on the passing game and the increased focus by opposing defenses to stop said passing game, there's been a shift to focusing on quicker, more explosive linemen, guys that can generate a pass rush. And that's kind of the nature of the beast. Teams go with a lot more sub-package looks, running 3-4s, doing all types of different things. And in some ways, a little bit it is kind of de-emphasized the big man in the middle. But for me, personally, I live for the fat guy in the middle of a defense. You call me old school, call me whatever you want. But there's just something about that big fat ass that anchors your defensive line that is an absolute force up the middle that teams can't run on. Like, you don't even entertain the thought of going there. You have to change your entire offensive dynamic in terms of running the football because you know you can't go in that direction. And you think about the teams over the years with the great 3-4 defenses. You had those great nose tackles, Casey Hampton in Pittsburgh, Williams in San Diego. I always think about the true to me, at least for my lifetime, the true prototype of the 3-4 nose tackle was Ted Washington. And every 3-4 run-stuffing nose tackle since, to me, has been measured up against Ted Washington's standards. It's just the way it is. But I even think about the big fat men in the middle of defenses when teams would run 4-3, like the Fridge, like Gilbert Brown. Remember Gilbert Brown and how big of a star he became? He was an attraction in and of himself. What happened to the days when the fat boys were fat boys and they were proud to be fat boys and we embraced the fat boys? There was no fat shaming. They went on and got some big time fame out of being a big dude. Now it's like we fat shame them and it's just crazy. Enough about the rant on the current society that we live in. But Vita Vea is one of those types of dudes to me. Reminds me of that old school big fat ass, and I don't mean that as a disparaging term at all, but that fat ass, that big hulking monster that you have in the middle of your line that can absolutely stop a team's running game and force them into being one-dimensional. I mean, the dude is a freaking monster. What is he, 6'4", 6'5", 345? Probably closer to 350 pounds. He's not the longest dude. His arms are only like 32 and a half inches, which I thought they maybe would measure a little bit longer. But he's a big, bad dude. He looks like a freaking Islander Hulk is what the hell he looks like. I mean, he just looks massive. And he's got strength for days. The dude put up 41 reps in the bench of 225 pounds at the combine. And if I recall correctly, he had a couple of them that he put up that didn't count. Seriously, I want to reemphasize and come back to this. The dude put up 225 pounds 41 damn times. That is otherworldly strength. You only get maybe 1, 2, 3 dudes in each entire draft class that can actually do something like that. So it speaks to just how powerful and strong and massive this dude is. He is what you look at, the prototype of what you would want out of a run stuffer. Whether you're in a 4-3 and you want him to play kind of your nose there, or you want him to play the nose in the 3-4, he could do that. And as far as a run defender, he can anchor. You're not pushing him too far off of his spot, especially if he keeps his pad level and his balance. The dude can be unmovable. He's got a really good mind for run defense. He's able to keep his eye on the ball even when he's engaging with blockers. He can get into position. He can make stops while he's got a blocker, sometimes double-team blockers on him. And the dude could just sit there and be engaged and just ragdoll a dude, and bam, it's over. It reminds me of Gilbert Brown in that sense. Reminds me of that type of dude, a Ted Washington type of dude, a Gilbert Brown type of dude. Those dudes that I think more and more of you might want to admit, well, but probably will admit in the comments of this video, the type of dude that you really like in the middle of your defense. Just a beast. And he could be really hard to block. The frustrating thing about him is sometimes he can be unblockable and sometimes he can be easily blocked. But really good agility. Almost reminds me of the Fridge in that sense. Is a big dude that can be really nimble and agile on his feet. And you see this in pursuit. I mean, granted, He's not an explosive athlete in terms of, oh my God, he's going to beat everybody. But for his size, he can get moving. And when that mask gets him moving, he coming for your ass. And he will come for your ass. And when you watch Vita, I just love the fact that a dude that is almost 350 pounds plays with such a passion on the football field. This dude cares. He really, really cares. And to me, I consistently saw him put forth the effort to want to be an impact player all over the field. All over the field. He can play like a monster. The challenge with Vita Vea ultimately is, do you feel like he's only a run stuffer, or do you feel like he actually has a little bit of pass rush potential? Could he be a potential 3-down player for him, for your team? It's a fair question. Because when you look at him as a pass rusher, primarily he has to get by as a bull rusher and as an effort motor guy and get some second effort sacks. That's pretty much his pass rush game. He doesn't have a whole lot else. He might be able to get into the NFL and physically overpower some people and ragdoll them with his hands, but I don't know that if he has the quickness to where you can sit there and say, hey, this guy is going to get us 8 sacks a year. And frankly, if that's what you're wanting out of a defensive tackle, then Vita Vea is not going to be your choice. That's not what you drafted for. You know, he could get better in terms of his leverage and his pad level. I mean, when he gets rolling, he can be really hard to stop. But sometimes he's not the quickest in terms of getting his hands up and in the right position, and longer blockers could give him a little bit of trouble. He also has a bad habit of really popping up once he does get engaged with a block, which a guy as strong as him should be able to bend at the knees, keep that knee bend, and keep driving and throw linemen, interior linemen specifically, back into the face of the quarterback. Well, this dude's a monster. I'm not trying to overanalyze this too much. Like, to me, worst case scenario, you get a top-flight run stuffer in the middle of your defense for a decade. That has to be worth a first-round pick. I know with the proliferation of the passing game over the past decade plus, we're going to talk about, well, you need those 3 techniques. You need those guys that can get after the quarterback. You still got to be able to stop the run, too. And it's the guys like a Vita Vea that when you do happen to run your base defense, let's say 35-40% of the time, they could take away an entire section. You're not going to be able to run up the gut on whatever team drafts him. You're not going to be able to run up the middle. And frankly, like I said, he's got the pursuit to chase some plays down the field. It's really hard to run on a guy like Vita Vea. And I hope teams don't get caught in the thing of, is he the best fit? Is he this? How much is he going to be on the field? You know, eventually he might be able to be a type of guy that gives you 4 or 5 sacks a year. That might be it. But I'm sorry. You've got to have a team, a defense, in a way to be able to use him. And personally, regardless of if your team runs 4-3, 3-4, they run a sub package, I don't care. Like, you can play this dude at 5 technique. You can play him at the nose. You can play him defensive tackle in a 4-3. If your team, if your scheme, your defense cannot find a way to utilize Vita Vea, then you are a retard. What this dude brings to the table is still very much valuable in today's NFL. You can help make a team, the opposing offense, one-dimensional. And isn't that ultimately the name of the game? Once you can take away one of the 2 things they could do, now they can only do the other thing or try to do the other thing, and now you can worry about stopping that. You don't have to worry about stopping the run because they can't run on you. The dude is a first-round pick. To me, a team like Oakland, who was pursuing Ndamukong Suh in free agency initially, should be all over Vea. The absolute lowest in this draft he should drop is Washington at 13. Like, he's a freak. He's a monster. And if he works on some things, he's going to be a dominant player in the league for a long time. And I hope he gets chunky suit commercials and everything. Because we need the fat boys to represent again in the NFL, damn it.